But let's begin with the hot button, which is also just getting into ahead of 2027. ODM has marked 20 years since it was formed. And in this past weekend, the ODM political party was doing a celebration of 20 years. We saw speeches, we saw people coming out to speak, we saw the leadership, and what appeared to be people speaking from different sides.
Appeared?
You know?
Nice way of putting it.
I'm just from Raila's burial to what was happening in Mombasa over this weekend, you can clearly see that there are people who are expressing themselves. Now, what does that mean? And there are those who have said, you know, this is ODM splitting. It's also a possibility that ODM could be splitting, but it also presents a chance for ODM to actually show what it is. Now, ODM has, for the last 20 years, of course, been known as the Raila Odinga party. It was Raila who was ODM. It was Raila who was providing leadership and stewardship, and it's Raila who was providing the true north of the political party. Now, with Raila's demise and his absence, what's going to happen to that party? If you look back at other political parties, KANU, Kenyatta died, Moi came in and took over the party, and he ran with the party. After 2002, we saw KANU flounder. And the person who became the chair of KANU, Uhuru Kenyatta, even left KANU and went and formed ODM. And among the speeches that were being that is Uhuru forming ODM, all right? So KANU, after Moi, after the big man exits the stage, KANU basically appears to go down. Same with Ford Kenya, with Jaramogi exiting, with Kijana Wamalo exiting, then we go into Musikari Kombo, and now Moses Wetangula. How is Ford Kenya? Is it a strong political party as it was when Jaramogi was heading it? Or if you think about Ford Asili and Kenneth Matiba, or DP and Mwai Kibaki, now here is ODM. It's an opportunity for ODM to actually define itself, and maybe what we are seeing is part of Raila's legacy. He groomed very many young, strong people who are leaders, and they are squabbling over now who actually takes over the leadership and the helm of ODM. It's an opportunity, I think, for ODM, whether it moves beyond this to become an institution, beyond the personality of Raila Odinga, or it becomes just a movement that clings on to the memories of Raila Odinga. This is a defining moment for ODM.
It is.
Absolutely. I think you have to wish them well, because we don't do well with political institutions in this country for the exact reasons that you've stated, that political parties become private properties of the party leader, and then they dictate the tempo, all right? So it's like a football match. The person who's the party leader becomes the number 6, is the guy who controls the tempo, where to pass, how to pass, and eventually, you know, sucks up so much air in the room that there is no institution. So you have to wish this political party well, because hopefully it works for us and helps us to build using the experience. But the truth is that the ODM party is fighting so much deep undercurrent, which is what it's been built on, the contradiction of running for office. So if you look at ODM running for office since 2007, all their manifestos, they're as different as night and day, all right? The stuff that they promised in 2007, they couldn't promise that stuff in 2022 because of how the contradiction of what has happened. It's sort of winning power and getting into office. So I think the battle now is, first is to find the true north, as you say, the ideological center of what the party is, and then hopefully survive that, and then, you know, go into an election, you know, with sort of like a party that can sustain itself, you know, either in coalition, you know, build a coalition. As they insist, they have to be in government, or the party that creates government. Yeah. Whatever it is that they do, the fight now is that ideological center, because Raila was the ideology, and that is the undercurrent that they have to fight. Yeah. And I think you have to wish them well to see how that goes.
That would be interesting, because I feel, for me, in an additional citrus fruit for ODM would be to differentiate between the hood rats, who are very much making deals out of Raila Odinga's influence, and the value statute holders of ODM. I think what we're trying to see as Kenyans is, you know, can ODM stand now that Raila, as the true north, like we're saying, is not in the room anymore, who exactly holds the ideologies and the true promises of ODM? Because ODM was formed from the trenches with the people. So who exactly is going to push forward with the message and the demands of the people? But also just to see what's happening between Winnie Odinga and the same members of ODM would be very interesting, because again, the resolve cannot be insults. It's not the time. ODM deserves and requires to create structures that create very good, stable significance to stabilize their proceedings as they move forward towards the elections. It's going to be an interesting turn to see.
Indeed. And speaking of the by-elections, ODM is very much involved in the upcoming by-elections.
Yeah.
Just looking at the 6 constituencies first that will be having by-elections, Ugunja constituency was an ODM MP who's now a CS. Kasipul constituency was an ODM MP who died. Magarini constituency was a leader from the coast. Magarini Kilifi has for a long time been, at ODM zone. Now, of course, we had the new party, PA and others, and ODM has really strongly gone to campaign for this particular by-election. So even these by-elections are going to define what happens to ODM in 2027, right? Yeah. So it's all of that. It's a litmus. And so let's get into that conversation, and we'll get into our audience shortly and ask them. You can pick your card, and you're going to use it to vote.